why this new leadership paradigm matters so deeply to you.
So I guess it's all started for me of questioning whether the way I've been leading myself, my team, was actually the best way. It's never-ending chase of never-ending goals. One goal lead to another and then another. It can be KPIs, it get another promotion, it can be bigger bonus, or let's buy that house. At some point, I was just exhausted. This inner voice in me was telling me, is this it? It's not by changing the environment, even going from one employee to another, even changing and starting your own business, that will solve that model that you've been operating potentially all your life. If that's not working, what then is? And that's now this new way of leadership, which is not driven by force. It's rather driven by flow, by ease, by impact. It's this inner enthusiasm, this drive, at the same time inner harmony and peace.
Welcome to another episode of Extraordinary Leadership Podcast. My name is Dagmara Asbrick, and I am your host, CEO and founder of Extraordinary Leadership, embodied transformational executive coach, who is absolutely passionate about empowering leaders, executives, CEOs to embrace the next level leadership impact. Today, we are going in this episode to dive into the topic of new leadership paradigm that enable leaders to lead with more ease and flow and execute from that state. A paradigm that unlock exponential growth in business and, of course, human potential in teams and organizations, making far greater impact. And for this conversation, I have brought to this show one of my friends, Irina Sanchez-De Lozada, who is a CEO and founder of Success from Within, career and business reinvention coach, and flow state activation coach. So let's dive in. First of all, I will welcome Irina to this show, and thank you very much for saying yes to be here and for this meaningful conversation.
Yeah, it's hello everyone. Real pleasure to be here, Dagmara. And it's a topic that is close to my heart. So of course, I'm absolutely delighted to be here and share what I think about this beautiful paradigm in leadership.
Beautiful. And you are joining us from UK, right?
Yes, based in London, UK. Yeah.
So Irina, as we kind of prepared for this conversation, like what we want to bring to the listeners and audience, we will be bringing different lenses from our experiences. And I would love to kick off this conversation with this question: why this new leadership paradigm matters so deeply to you? And let's unpack our voices on it. Let you start first.
Yeah, sure. That started, of course, with my own journey towards leadership. So I've been in the corporate world, climbed the ladder, managing sales teams, so doing really well actually there. So according to all traditional definition of success, I succeeded. I was recognized, I was paid well, I was rewarded, and with these trips that even supported my husband. So from all of this kind of outside view, I was super successful. I always say successful on paper. However, that comes this time when you start questioning, because if I looked back what I've been doing in the last few years while I was doing my job, I just realized that it somehow was a lot of achievement based. And don't get me wrong, it's not the problem to want to achieve, but I felt like I was stuck in some kind of loop of achieving yet another goal. And it kind of started as chasing a never-ending finish line. This is very, of course, great to be driven, professional, to have goals and achieve them. But somehow in this chase, because that's how I saw it, it was never-ending chase of never-ending goals. One goal lead to another and then another. And I'm talking about, it's like it can be KPIs, it can be yet another promotion, it can be bigger bonus, or let's buy that house. It can be also in personal life, it doesn't have to be only professionally. And so this non-stop chase of something. At some point, I was just exhausted. And this is where I guess that was the moment when me and my team were one more time being rewarded for our great sales results. And they took us somewhere beautifully nice in Stockholm, this beautiful stage. And we are I'm standing there with this reward. And I'm realizing it's great. But I'm wondering, is this it? I didn't feel this kind of inner satisfaction. Of course, I was proud of me and my team, but somehow something was missing. Not only I was physically exhausted, I was kind of emotionally disconnected. I felt that somehow something is missing. Like from the perspective of course, rest and slowing down was definitely missing too. But there was also another aspect that somehow this inner voice in me was telling me, is this it? Is this what there is? Is that what your leadership is going to be for the rest of your career? Like literally. So I guess it's all started for me of questioning whether the way I've been leading myself, my team, was actually the best way. And in reality, interestingly enough, when I then quit corporate job and started my business, it was exactly the same. So I thought that by quitting, I will give myself a better lifestyle. I will give myself this freedom to be my own boss. And, nobody will tell me what to do, what kind of goal set up. And I was quite surprised to discover that actually it was exactly the same. But now even more pressure because it was my business. It was something that true to my heart. There is no one to report to, but at the same time, it becomes even more high stakes for you. So that is what I've learned. It's not by changing the environment, even going from one employee to another, from one leadership to another, or even changing and starting your own business that will solve that kind of model that you've been operating potentially all your life, right? This chase, nonstop achievement, being busy, like doing and doing, and finally enough being proud that you're doing so much, you're achieving so much. This somehow it's the badge of honor. Like, yes, I'm quite busy, and you feel proud. That's something, the model I couldn't define, or I didn't yet have any description of that, like in whatever terms, but that was something that stopped working for me. And I guess that's where, if that's not working, what then is? What is that other way? How else or what else could potentially we achieve and lead ourselves, our teams, our lives, so that we're not just chasing something? We're not just purely achieving for the sake of it. We're not just getting more of the same. We're not just inspired to look good in the eyes of others and, accumulate more and more and more. So that what? And we don't even know. And so that's kind of the what I experienced. Then, of course, it was this period of void, me trying to figure this out. And that's now this new way of leadership, which is not driven by force. It's rather driven by flow, I call it, by flow, by ease, by impact, by you focusing on giving, by intuition, by alignment, by knowing who you are as a leader, and of course in a personal life as whatever you represent, what is your identity, and standing on your 2 feet, grounded and leading from a different kind of lenses. That's what makes that type of leadership really meaningful, really purposeful, but also not exhausting, not at the expense of something. Like in my case, my leadership costed me relationship with my husband. It was really rough, tough. And I was always constantly busy, completely disconnected, never present with whatever we're doing with my family. It was always kind of somewhere else. Nobody knows what for, right? And then that type of leadership is different. It's this fully presence. Is this not only like the type of work you do becomes meaningful, but it's also how you do it, the state you approach it is, how you feel every single day. It's this inner enthusiasm, this excitement, but also at the same time inner harmony and peace. It's a beautiful state. Well, as they call it, it's called the flow state. But that's for me that new leadership. What is the new leadership is about, and that's how I shifted towards that.
Yeah, beautiful. Listening to you, it's obviously for me so many, similar points in my journey. So I think me and probably a lot of listeners, highly driven, ambitious leaders, share this common challenge of, I call it hyperachiever syndrome, of, all the time doing something more, right? And feeling that void, that empty void inside because you don't feel fulfilled. You look, as you said, on a paper successful. For me, actually, it has been in stages. Kind of my really, I would say, awakening journey, opening eyes journey of what's going beneath the surface started like 10 years ago when I was also in a corporate leadership role. And for me, it started not yet with questioning because of exhaustion. Yes, I was in this pattern of doing, but because of challenges in leadership I was facing. The team was not fully aligned or performing well. There were conflicts. And, I was with that vision of a different type of leadership, different type of results, different type of engagement with, more happiness, fun, joy, ease, right? And it's those challenges that brought me first 10 years ago to look inside. That was kind of my very first step. That's where I started, with coaching. And first, open this a box of, wow, there's a lot that I don't know. And obviously that time it was more about understanding beliefs and mindset and mind, how it works. So that was kind of a first stage. And it got me somewhere. It got me to shift really perspectives, question, and gain actually self-trust as well, a bit work on the self-worth, as we know, which is important, and shift into building a different level of trust, engagement, communicating different with my team, and feel more at ease inside, right? So that was kind of my first shift. And that got me really to transform to a better leader at that time. But there was a time, then the next phase came, where I was like, all of this coaching and what coaching can do and how much, it's empowering for me. And I brought it in my leadership as well. And then I obviously started to question other things. I could continue my career in procurement where I was 15 years, climb the ladder, right? But that was similar stage as you, that I started to question, is that really fulfilling? Is that really what I want? And I could, of course, see how much the other side of me, which started with coaching, was drawing my attention to look into, there is something more in this human potential. And of course, fascinating and energy that was evolving by empowering people to think differently, and myself as well included. So, and be differently as well and unlock their potential. That's, I think, where it started for me. So that was about 5 years ago that I started to question where I really want to go. And fast forward 3.5 years ago, I decided to leave and embrace the entrepreneurship journey, jumping from corporate and starting my own business with similar as wishes that time. I remember the two things. First is, of course, I'm jumping off because of a bigger mission, because I realized that my purpose is different, because I want to give that access to what I've been given an access to other leaders. But the second thing, I said to myself, I'm not going to be working like corporate hours, right? I want now my life more with joy and freedom and ease and better relationships, time and, relationships with my family. So very similar to you. And that, I think, that second thing, and as you said, the fact that your business totally reflects you and like team totally reflects you, right? And that awareness brought me to explore different things, right? Brought me to explore as well more transformational approaches. And later we came to the energy work. We'll talk about it for sure today. And that was for me really an opening, a next level of awareness and understanding there is this doing and being, and we'll unpack all of that. And we can shift more to flow. So that was kind of what brought me here. But when I'm asking myself, why these things matter, I think for both of us, it matters because it's personality and it shifts everything. It shifts how you feel inside. It shifts what impact you made. It shifts how you make decisions in the business, how you serve as a coach or a leader, right? But also I feel thinking, for the future, I mean, looking back, all the new paradigm for me is like, we're talking about AI evolution. We're talking and spending a lot of focus there, but we forget that what we need is what we're talking about today is human evolution. And of course, consciousness evolution within, right? And this is why this matters for me personally, because connected with our both purposes is obviously connected because we went through the journey and we continue that journey because it never ends. But also I'm thinking from the context of this needs to happen because otherwise we kind of overtaken totally and we cannot keep the pace. And there's so much more potential within ourselves as human beings to unlock. And that's how I see this whole new paradigm is helping us to unlock and tap to the resources that we mostly don't tap, which are much vaster than what we already know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in the last few years, we're kind of in this almost crossroads in leadership overall, or as leaders. Is like one road is to continue on the same, and they really like go like apart in a way. And it's up to you what you choose as a leader, which road you take. It's much harder than if you take one road to switch to the. I mean, it's possible, but because they're gonna kind of almost like go so much apart. If now it's this point when you choose and off you go. If you're in the beginning, you switch, it's okay. But the more it goes apart, the more difficult it becomes to shift because you become ingrained in that chosen leadership model. So it's either this force driven or effort driven or achieve and doing driven mode. And hence we embark on this journey, do. So that fast leadership model, this old paradigm as we call it, is like all about to have, I need to do. While this other, like this, the one that we're discussing, by the way, doesn't mean you have less. You have less. Actually, funny enough, like now that I embraced fully that type of leadership, interesting enough, not only I have way more, like like literally, well, if we are talking in very practical financial terms, like 10 times more than I used to have in the corporate world, with seriously at least 3-4 times less effort. But that, to our mind, to this logical side of us, seems kind of impossible. When someone tells you you can actually have more and more, and you can actually work less, it's like, seems like a fairy tale. It's like,
Yeah.
what? Is it non-existent? And that's the choice you have to make. First, it starts with this kind of giving yourself a possibility to even open yourself up that potentially could be true for you. You don't know yet how you're going to achieve that. You have all possible doubts, which is fair enough, because of course, coming from that model of achievement and effort based to something different, it's a big shift. So it's absolutely fine to doubt this, to question this. Please do so. If anything, it's even good for you. However, if you not even allow yourself to really turn your head towards what else could be there, to that path, even if you haven't started walking yet, you just turn your head and look at what could it possible, that actually there is another way. So I think for me, it's more like to show people that even if you're afraid to walk yet, if you don't know how, we will discuss, of course, this is in this conversation, but allow yourself to at least look and see, okay, actually there is another way. Yes, my logical mind is telling me it's kind of a bit strange, a bit skeptical. I'm skeptical. It's a bit, all of this, fine, but you're looking and you're allowing yourself to see that there is another possibility and
Yeah.
see what else could it be, because that model, in order to have, I need to be. In order
Yes.
to
That's
have
okay.
anything I want, it starts with being. Is this because we are human beings? We're not human doings. So actually, that old leadership paradigm, we go against our nature. So why not embrace our true nature? So for me, it's not even new paradigm. It's just it's actually the
Coming back
only
home.
natural way. Exactly.
Indeed, there is quite a lot of that. It's like, luckily, we are in an era of a lot of access to a lot of information.
Hmm.
Because obviously, why we need to be open to explore that is by evidence of what we're facing. And many leaders, organizations, and businesses are facing. And that's what you said, that what I shared as well before. It's basically exhaustion. There are a lot of statistics of burnout, right? People questioning if they can go to the next level because that will cost them compromise of their health or relationships. So many people compromise their ambitions as well because they don't know that there is another way to unlock, or simply the other way around, right? So basically find out themselves divorced or burnout. I have some clients that coming out of that just because this is a result of this old paradigm, as you said, of forcing, of pushing, of just knowing that we need to do a lot and buying into this bias and limiting belief of we need to work hard, which is so ingrained in the society still, right? In order to achieve something, as an example of this. So I think that is why I see we need to really have more of these conversations like today and bring more people in equation to build awareness. So what's the alternative? Because I also see quite a lot of people are looking now into, okay, well-being and, connecting with themselves. That's kind of a first step, and questioning also that, as you mentioned, this is really the first part. And I noticed that too with every client, right? Or potential clients that come, they are starting to question, there is something else, or I need to shift. I have not, there is some part of me that is not yet there. And it can come in different flavors, by the way, because sometimes this old paradigm is not only the burnout and exhaustion, sometimes it's basically also about patterns, right? Other patterns, other conditioned patterns that we pick up from very early on that are blocking us to play bolder, to be bolder, right? Or to be more vulnerable, to be more authentic as leaders, because there is so much inside that is blocking us to do so. And we're not even realizing why, right? And going into the sea of pleasing, of avoiding important conversations. So there are those different types of also how we sabotage ourselves, leading on this old paradigm and being unconscious. I think this is the word that here describes it the most. But there is a movement going on, I have a feeling, luckily. And also there are people who has embraced it, like ourselves and many, many others. And this sets also the role model, right? And this is the hope for something else as well. How do you see that?
Yes, 100%. Well, to be honest, I can't say that and I will be honest, I am still the student of this as well.
Well,
So
we
it's
all
like,
are.
yeah, like of course, I definitely live in it more and more and I embrace it more and more, but I'm still learning. I'm still learning. And whatever I'm learning and experiencing, I'm sharing with my clients, because first, yes, it's a movement, and we can go into all these technicalities like Stanford University. Yes, I have connections to Stanford University, has all of these official names, the quantum leadership, and so all of this is, to be honest, the language is less important. And there are lots of different names, right, related to quantum, and quantum physics becomes very important, and all of these things. But the key, what we need to understand, I think, it's like, practically speaking, you will naturally resist this movement. You will naturally resist this switch. And it's absolutely normal. It's absolutely, that's why I say, please doubt us. You will be, like, because you will naturally doubt this whole thing. As you were saying earlier, it's like, there is a reason why we are in this old paradigm, or in this, whatever leadership we're embracing right now, in the achiever mode, let's say I call it, right? There is a reason. It's not the reason because that's how we program to think. That's what you believe is what success is all about. It's what you believe is the only way to succeed and to achieve, right? And so off you go. But it's not, it's because someone told you that before. You've learned it from somewhere. You created this set of beliefs that make you kind of be in that mode. And the whole point is that there is so much information, so much information. To be honest, when I started researching that, I was overwhelmed. Or when I started like kind of opening myself up, I was overwhelmed. I was like, oh my God, where do I begin? What do I do with this? How, what? And I want to just kind of reemphasize for our listeners that it's natural to resist the shift.
Yeah.
Resistance is, it's always this part of us, like our current, like our logical part, which is also the protective part of ours, doesn't want us to fail, doesn't want us to be judged, doesn't want us to look, like strange or weird, because we put these kind of beliefs about what this new way could mean for us and our success. And from our current perspective, it may mean, okay, it sounds great. I'm excited. It sounds interesting. I'm listening to you, Dagmar. I'm listening to Irina. Sounds amazing. Okay, I'm here looking. But the thing is, as I said, first you need to open yourself up and start looking. But the second is start walking. But even make the first step. And that's where the resistance comes. Like, it will come 100% guaranteed. There is no other way.
Yeah, we experienced it many times.
Exactly. It's like, I don't want you to kind of, okay, let's do it. It's nice and easy. Let's do it. Let's go. No, it's not going to happen. You will doubt, you will question, your part of yourself say, but what if all of this is not work for me? Okay, it works for Irina, it works for Dagmar, it works for others. It sounds interesting. Okay, I'm opening up. But what if it won't work for me, for my background, for where I am in my life, with all my commitments, responsibilities? What if? And of course, we always wonder, like, don't get me wrong. For me, the worst fear was to lose my lifestyle. It sounds like, strange, but I have responsibilities, but I have family to support, I have things, and we all are. So it's not like, okay, I'm switching to this. Now I'm going to be this excited, happy, less work, less. But somehow, and that's how I felt, I thought, oh my God, but that means I will be less successful. I will earn less money. I don't know why, but my biggest belief was this means happiness. Like, definitely you work less, you enjoy your life, but you don't have as much. You have to sacrifice your lifestyle. You potentially may fail on your responsibilities. Your poor family have to also sacrifice, and they have to, just because you decide to be happy. And for me, it was so selfish. And that is why I was resisting that walking in that path for so long. It's been a year or more than I've been studying it, listening to all of these podcasts and things, and didn't allow myself to even begin those. So the key that what I want to emphasize is that if you don't do it intentionally, you will be forced to do it. And that's something, it's my biggest belief. Maybe you will disagree with that. I will, not right now. I'm not saying that in 1 day, in 2 months, you will be forced. No. But like, literally, it cannot last forever. Like, this force achievement-based leadership, it cannot. It's not who we are as people. It's not who we are. It's not our nature. So you can continue for as long, but something happens if you don't do it intentionally. Something happens. Like, for me, like, something happens, a divorce, an illness of some family members or friend, or even yours, like, or something else. Like, it's almost like you have to be forced, usually not in a very nice way, like a kick something, or you'll be fired, or you'll be like, whatever. It will be something that happens, like, shake you up, and whether you want it or not, it will force you back into that other way. So, but why force it? Why wait if we can choose intentionally now?
It's funny because change psychology is like there is either you change or you start to seek for change, right? Or start to seek for new because of two reasons. And one is the pain and one is the inspiration. But obviously, still the majority of us. And I would look back, it was the same with me. I think I had many of those moments, of course, which were painful for me, including being once fired, that didn't ultimately bring me yet to start my own company experience, high states consciousness, and all of that. But that were the little milestones on my journey to bring me to something new, to something different to explore. It would be fantastic if more and more people would be willing to change or willing to discover and step into the next level of selves, I would say, because that's how I see this new paradigm as well. Equally important is to mention, maybe in our words, how do we see this paradigm and what we associate with this new paradigm so that it becomes, clear for the audience in a more tangible ways. How somebody who is curious and maybe listening to us becomes even more curious and is like, okay, what is this paradigm actually about? What's different? What it includes? What it enables? What is it?
So for me, there are a few elements how I define that, like very tangible and practical. So first and foremost, and it may sound like a bit cliche, but I'll say it, it's really enjoying what you do, like professionally. It doesn't matter whether it's your business, it's your corporate job. And that's where, for example, because my area of expertise is to work with people who want to switch to this new way, but more than anything, it's this reinvention. Because I believe that in order for you to move from that current paradigm, and when you start questioning, is this it, to this other like paradigm, and kind of, I said, launch your next chapter, successfully launch your next chapter, it's reinvention journey, right? And that's where potentially you will have to change what you're doing. And that may say again, oh my God, what do you mean? I've been doing this for years, years and years, right? And sometimes the change doesn't have to be massive. Sometimes the change can be like literally as simple as you just change even how you perceive your current role. Maybe everything is already great and you don't even need to massive changes apart from start to find a little bit more meaning in what you do. And it can be done within current context, within current role. But it's kind of this first element of that, yeah, I truly really wake up excited. And I mean, we all work 5 days a week, more or less, let's say, yeah. And it's like this waking, and we spend majority of our waking hours working, right? So it's this sensation that I don't force myself. Like I remember that sensation when I was waking up in my corporate job. Oh my God. It's literally not every day, but there were days when I'm like, oh, it's like it's kind of same old. It's like deja vu. It's like the same again. What is your pipeline? What is this? And it's just kind of, I had to force myself into work. So that's not that new type of leadership. Is that the first essential element, you have to make sure that this reinvention will lead you to doing something that you truly love. I call it operating in your zone of genius. And your zone of genius can be anywhere. And we all have this. We all have this unique zone of genius where you are really naturally good at it, but you also love it. And that's connected to the purpose and meaning and all of these things. So that's number one element. But then this first element is fully engaging what you do, not forcing yourself, really loving it. And it's not easy. Don't get me wrong. That is why it's like that's why I have a whole business, like helping people to understand how does it play out for me? What does it even mean for me? What do I need to do and when and what context and how? Second element, once you're doing what you love, is really understanding that what creates your results is not the doing, but the being. But now let's become more practical. It's like literally how you feel. And what does it mean? We know this very famous saying, your energy introduces you before you speak. What does it even mean? We know those people when they didn't say a word and they somehow like exude this power, like magnetism, like somehow the presence, and they're lead. It doesn't really matter what even they do. Somehow we feel drawn to them. It doesn't matter how you call it, but we all sense this type of people. So what is that? And while others are somewhere there, and even before they start speaking, they're already a bit like off. And when they start speaking, it's even worse. And they're kind of, so it's why those type of people are different. And by the way, two can be equally successful, let's say. But one type of leader is like literally you want to go out, like you want to be in their energy. You want to talk to them, or you want to, like be connected to them, or I don't know, whatever. You want to be next to them. And while others is like, okay, they're smart,
Mm-hmm.
they're nice, they may say the right things, don't get me wrong, they're not stupid. They may say the right things in all of this, but then it's not a pleasure somehow to
Mm-hmm.
be next to those people. So that is why the second element for me of this new leadership or new paradigm is the state. It's a very famous concept of state. Like, how do I feel? It's this natural enthusiasm. It's this natural, like, on the one hand, groundness and feeling secure and feeling this inner power. There is nothing to prove. There is nothing to show to anyone. I just know this inner self-worth. It's big time connected to that. I call it state mastery. So it's
Mm-hmm.
this connecting to like your inner power. And this is when you naturally radiate this confidence. You radiate this magnetism. Everybody feels your power, but forget about everybody. You feel your own power.
Yeah.
So, and from that starts, imagine what kind of actions you can take when you're in that state. When you literally wake up and this state is unshakable. Nothing can shake it off. Nothing that, like, doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter, like, maybe it was a bad low day. Maybe it was like the results of your team, whatever, didn't measure up to whatever. But that worth, that state, that inner knowing, that inner power doesn't change whatsoever. Your confidence may fluctuate because that's what confidence is about. It's how you believe in your abilities to do something. So when you don't achieve, your confidence may change, fair enough, and that's normal. But your self-worth, this inner presence, this inner state is always unshakable. So that's something, and of course, there are ways how to get it, how to become a state of master or master of state. So that's the second element for me. And last but not least, it's big important bit, which again, to the many people may seems like, is this intuition led kind of
Mm-hmm.
strategies? It's
Yeah.
like knowing in your gut and going with what that gut tells you. But some people say it's just random. But actually, there is a science behind. There is a science behind how to activate this intuition muscle, this gut feeling. And so, how to activate that and how to distinguish whether it's like a really gut feeling or it's just kind of fear driven, intuition driven. It's always gut feeling driven. And those actions, that would help you quantum leap your life. Because those actions, the fastest, easiest way to the most magnificent changes in all areas of your life, because they seems illogical. They will be super triggering those actions. They don't have to be big, by the way. I'm not saying it will tell you this voice, come on, quit your job and start your, no, that's not intuition. So
Yeah.
I mean, we can discuss it separately. So that's for me three elements.
Interesting. Yeah. And there is a lot of intersection also from my perspective and about clients that I serve who are, executives in corporate world or those that are like us, shifting to starting purpose driven business or founders. I would say the first for me, this paradigm is about stepping into the bolder and authentic version of yourself. This is the enabler, actually, right?
Mhm.
Because it enables us to break through whatever hold us back from being in that, as you mentioned, powerful state, the state of our truth, authenticity, power, boldness, which is felt in our body. So that's how I see the first to describe, why this matters is this number one, because in today's landscape, leading any business or leading any organization, those two are so important because you have so many decisions, uncertainties, and unknown. So this boldness and authenticity in order to connect with the people, right? You lead or clients. Well, this paradigm enables you to achieve it or realize that through connecting with your inner self. So by default, of course, it's a paradigm that foster inner connection,
Mhm.
that foster you to look inside and connect with yourself, which lately I ran a masterclass or webinar around, 5 key ingredients based on that paradigm, of course, for executives. For me, that's just 80-20. The 80% is inward game, right? And 20% is process structure, people, and all of that. You also mentioned in your framework, I mean, enables people to just take faster decision, go bolder, and so on. The second is a state mastery. This is I think the key what defines this new paradigm is understanding that we need to shift from managing the time to managing the state and prioritizing the energy. And I see energy as multifaceted and multidimensional. So kind of, physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual. And obviously where the highest level of states that we can tap to is on the spiritual level. And this is where obviously when we can tap to this higher level of consciousness, I call it, and energy, this is where we are able to radiate that different energy in the room, as you mentioned. And it's felt because energy is felt and everything is energy. And as leaders, this is where a leader can transform the dynamic of a conversation, transform the dynamic of organization. And I truly, truly believe that's the only way we have in organization to transform the culture, by transforming every leader and every person. And a leader can make such an impact in the room, right? So as you totally aligned with what you say, tapping into that state with different practices, right? And managing that state during the day, right? On those different levels. The third for me, it's think about my framework. It's also about tapping to that vision and of course connected with that intuition you mentioned, right? So opening yourself up to trusting more, that I always have to remember, myself included, right? Trusting more your vision, trusting more your intuition, and of course, tapping to resources that allow you to unlock that intuitive mind. Because frankly speaking, we want to be visionary leaders. You cannot be a visionary leader if you are, leading from the past data and only a logical and rational mind. And most of the decisions you're dealing with are also very complex. So how you want to manage those complex situations in the business, or people conversations, and or strategy or decisions for your business when the world is moving and shaking. And from the leadership point of view, for me, it's also about the energy and emotions in conversation, because basically as leaders, of course, leading teams, communicating, and the executive presence you mentioned as well. So it's between also executive presence and energy and emotions of the conversation. And that is what make a difference in how people respond to you, how fast you achieve certain goals, and all of that. Yeah, summarizing for me, it's about boldness and authenticity and standing into your power, which is one, is absolutely 100% state mastery, and that alignment from within is about intuition and is about mastery of your communication and presence, that basically is different. And it's switching from process, KPIs, structure. This is important. This is going to change. This is also part of course, every business and every leadership responsibility. But if we can focus on those elements that we describe, we are so much faster and greater, and so less problems are going to actually be solved by itself. And I think one last thing to mention, what I kind of discovered, especially in the last years, tuning in more to that energy rather than mindset and somatic experiences of coaching or tuning into your body, is I think understanding that manifestation as well, that we are manifesting all the time. And there are a lot of preconceptions people also have what manifestation is. Many think is just sitting and meditating and then everything comes to you. It's far greater than that, we know. But this awareness that we manifest 24/7, and we manifest through our inner world, how we master that inner world, that energy, that state, beliefs, all of that. That is the most important. And our reality, the circumstances in a business or in our family life or whatever, is just a reflection of that inner world. And understanding that and then working from the inside out, this is actually what for me this paradigm is about, is flipping the boat instead of trying to fix an external reality. Like you mentioned in your own example, right? You went from corporate to business and you noticed the same paradigm, the same problems happening. And it was the same for me, right? So I think that's one of the biggest awareness that we can, hopefully listeners can take from it, is your life, your challenges in the business or successes, right? Whatever is in your life today and in your business and in your organization is simply a reflection of your inner world. And if you can just tune inwards and work on these elements that we talk about, you're going to and transform and shift on that level, your world will shift, your results will change. And that's such a power we hold as human beings that I would love so many more people to know. That's why we talk about it.
Absolutely. In simple terms, for me, it's you become what you think about, right? So it's as simple as that. And I believe that this journey, it's always these many choices that you make in each moment in your professional and personal life. And because if we're talking practically speaking, okay, but how do I become that leader, But it's all about like, you will always be faced with choice. And for me, switching to this leadership works It's a very nice, I always tell to my clients kind of little story. There is a street and there is a guy who lives on the street, and every day he walks down that street to the office. In the middle of the street, there is a big hole. Okay. And so for how many years he goes, this hole is just there. So he automatically jumps into that hole. It's never pleasant. It's always delays him. He always like feels frustrated, and then he gets out and then he continues to this office. And it's been like this for 20 years. So that's kind of the first stage, I would say. It's automatic mode. It's like when we just doing, we don't even realize or aware that there is this hole. It's just what it is. It's how it is. It's what we only know. But then second stage is the same guy comes to the same street clearly. So he comes, now he sees this hole. He understands that he's been there. He's been there, it's not pleasant, it's not something that he truly enjoys, but yet he doesn't have a knowledge how to change that. So now he still jumps into that hole, but jumps intentionally. I mean, not intentionally, consciously, right? So he understands, okay, I'm still in the hole, but the difference between the first stage, which is already a massive shift, at least I know that I'm doing it now. I'm aware. I know it doesn't really serve me. I know it's not the best way, but I don't know how else I can do it yet. I don't see other ways. Hence, I'm still doing it, but I'm doing it consciously. So I guess on this journey, and that's what I'm saying, even if the first stage of this shift will be for you that you start realizing that, oh, yeah, I'm actually like in this old paradigm thinking and doing and too busy and all of these things. Like catching those moments when you become in this hustle mode or whatever it is for this, as we discussed this, and then kind of consciously saying, okay, I'm still keep doing it, but at least I'm aware now that I'm doing it. Because of course the next stage is the guy comes, he sees the hole, he understands he's been there, he doesn't want to be there, and he chooses to go it and just literally pass it by and continue his journey without jumping or falling onto the hole. And so that is this journey for me, right? It's like, and that's the, however you call it, identity shift, identity transformation, or state mastery. It all happens in the same manner. It starts with simple awareness that I am doing that and it doesn't serve me. I'm doing that, but it doesn't serve me. But yet, I'm not changing it because I'm not, well, for different reasons. Resistance to change, of course, and also maybe you don't know how. But at least you're aware. That's already a massive step. Congratulations, and literally be grateful even for that. Because, of course, the next will be finding the ways how to go, like how not to fall into that hole. And that's how, like, what you do, Dagmara, exist, and what we are as coaches or mentors or however we call ourselves exist. That's what I do. Because on this journey, it can be very lonely. It's like, it's not, and lonely. And also, it's not even that. Like in my case, what was holding me back time, it's my circle. I'm not saying that they're not good people, don't get me wrong. But we all been in the same kind of paradigm, on the same journey of whatever, doing things in the same way. And when I started waking up, as you were saying, or kind of realizing that there is another way, they didn't like that. And all our discussions, they were arguing with me, almost like reinforcing my doubts even more, that that's the way, right? And so this is where I'm like, some of them believe I'm crazy when I quit my job, crazy when I decided to kind of talk. Yeah, like it's great. Feeling that I'm crazy was kind of being present big time in that case, right? But what I realized, we are not crazy, we are fast. Sometimes you will just be the first in your friends of circle, in your family. And hence, of course, to them, it will seem like what he is, she's doing. Are they completely like nuts? They have like middle life crisis or what is going on or whatever, 60 years old crisis, whatever, right? Of course, they justify it from, they need to justify why they are where they are, why they are not changing. So I just want to make sure that this awareness, first of all, as I said, is the first step. But second, knowing sometimes it's hard on your own because you don't have the right circle or people haven't done it in your circle.
Yeah.
And funny enough, once you start shifting to that, the more and more people, you will start meeting more and more people who actually start also thinking in that way. That's why I'm saying awareness, it's such an important bit, because then your mind will start giving you evidences whilst you turn your perspective of more and more people who are living this way, who are leading this way, who organize their whole life around this way, right? And so it's these choices, but and as I said, holding hand and knowing the how and having the person who will support you all the way, it's super valuable, because I didn't have that. I had to really like do it on my own. I hired a couple of coaches, but it was not exactly what I needed. It for me, it really lacked. They reinforced more my achievement mode rather than this
Yeah.
depth that I was looking for.
Absolutely.
Frameworks.
And I love that you mentioned that, because I think there are a couple of points for the listeners to take. First is, I think, where do I start? And the second is really who to seek, right? For the support into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely share your opinion. I think where to start, the simple answer you already gave, right? Is like when you are already starting to be fed up with, how your days goes, exhausted, facing a lot of resistance with people that you lead, feeling empty, feeling that there is something that needs to change, or maybe something missing, as you mentioned, right? Those are signs. Those are signs for you to start to look for something else, right? Start to look inwards and take ownership for that inner evolution of yourself, to stepping into the next version of yourself, right? That is more aligned even with you. So I think those signs are very critical to mention, and they will be in different flavors. We tap on a couple of them, or even seeing the same patterns repeating over and over again. Right? This is nothing wrong with you, right? I think also something important to mention, and it's not that you are not good enough. No, that's not this. That's just your mind telling you these biases, but as a sign to lean inwards. And the second, I think I totally resonate with what you said, is of course awareness is the very first stepping stone in any transformation. So starting to listening or watching even your patterns, right? Checking or even reflecting on a weekly basis, and first getting this first level awareness on your own. What's going on, right? How do I respond or react? What situations trigger me? What is repeating all the time? That can bring you the very first awareness. But yes, then comes the part of, okay, what do I do with it? Right. And I think that we both can really save a lot of time by being very straightforward here. Yes, listening to podcasts is great. Reading books is awesome, but it will never help you to transform. So being guided in this process of embracing the new level of yourself, right? This new paradigm, which brings so much benefits, and transform not only yourself but a culture, requires you a guide or someone that has been there or is walking that path, because there are so many shortcuts and so many also possibilities to support you and save your time, basically, of going in circles as well. And I totally agree with you, Irina. Once you step into this paradigm, right, understand energy, you seek to support yourself with like-minded coaches, and luckily they are those. So we actually met on the same program with a similar coach of ours. So we invest in that ourselves, right? And I totally agree. I only look for coaches that basically embrace that new paradigm now. And there are many coaches out there, but not many yet in this space actually that I resonate with. And I choose very consciously to do it, because I can see this is just different level of thinking, and also something that, once you are in this paradigm, I see it like you open the world, you open the lens of what you can see, because you're elevating consciousness. So you see more and you see differently. So yeah, I want to be supported by those, and and I appreciate also being in energy of yours, and we are also creating that circle of like-minded people, because that's what you mentioned, so much important. So that's kind of what I think the listeners can take into where is the good moment to start. And you mentioned it, don't wait. You don't need to wait until you divorce or some crash or burnout, and where to look at. And I would like to leave listeners, I think, with an inspiration and maybe some examples either from our own lives or cases of our clients that we've seen, and through shifting through one paradigm to the other. What would you share on that one, Irina?
The best example, it starts with, like, that's why I know not only firsthand what resistance is, but it's also from my clients. So I have this client David, who we spoke to him a few years back, and the first conversation was, Irina, I just received this job offer from this. It's a very big senior role, like an associate, so it's great compensation, all is well. Like, I'm just received the job like last week and I accepted it. Or he haven't, but in the process of accepting it. And then here I am with all these concepts and new level of leadership and reinvention, zone of genius. And then he's saying, it sounds, Rena, it sounds really good. So so that's kind of the practical example. It sounds exciting. Something in me says that it's like, that's the way. So he started, as I was telling you, looking. So he turned at least to start looking in that direction. But I don't think I'm ready yet. I don't think I'm ready yet. So it's like, and that's why I'm saying it's absolutely normal. You will not seem ready, because actually that's not the truth. the mind will tell you you're not ready. It will never be the good time to embrace
Oh,
that,
yes.
ever, ever, ever. I just want you to know that you will never have the sense, okay, I mean, unless it's as if it hits you, and then you will have to be ready, right? So he told me, okay, Irina, so thank you. It was super inspiring conversation. Let's stay in touch. And off you go. So he accepted the offer and he went to start his new role. 6 months later, he's coming back to me for the quick, like literally, let's discuss. He said, Irina, it's interesting, but it's the same BS. It's the same thing that I actually run away from. Yes, it's actually high salary, different environment, but have more responsibilities and KPIs as well. So it's much more stress, much more pressure.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted. I don't see my kids and my family. My wife said that it was the worst decision ever. Like, we completely disconnected. I can't even, I stopped doing my cycling on the weekends because I work all the time, and I don't know how, and it's still somehow not enough. Like, my boss, like my line manager, is absolute like workaholic, and he keeps reinforcing that it's like, that's how you give and give. That's how you succeed. And that's when I remembered you with all your things. And we had again this kind of awakening discussion. Nothing happened out of this discussion, by the way. I mean, happened like apart from him just kind of saying, yes, I don't know. It's just, it seems like I'm in some kind of circle again. And then another half a year later, so it's 1 year him on a roll, he comes back and it's a different David. He says, okay, Irina, so here's the thing. I can't do it anymore. I'm done. Like, that's it. There is no way. So I'm completely arguing with my line manager all the time because I'm actually, my wife applied for divorce last week. I think it's like, I seriously, my health, I gained like quite a bit of kilos, and I was a very fit, good guy. I mean, I drink more wine. It's like, it's a disaster, my life. I can't do it anymore. There is no way. That's what I'm telling you. That's the story when it really kicks. 1 year. It took 1 year.
That's the real aha moment, right? That's a
Yeah.
pain. That's a pain.
Exactly.
The
And
wake-up
it's
call.
it's wake up call. And it's like, and they said, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if they fire me because I am so like, I'm disengaged. And in all honesty, he said, I'm exhausted. So here we are. So we embrace on this journey. And the beauty of this journey, you don't know what you will uncover. That's why I love what I do, for example, right? It's a 9 or 12 months journey. So it's not a journey like, let's get you a job or let's get you. So I don't know, like, maybe your format is different. For me, I don't want to rush this journey because I want everyone to enjoy every single bit of that journey, because this inner transformation, they take time. It's not even take time in terms of it's a lot to do. It's actually not that much to do. It's more like embodiment and living it and understanding it by practically living while you're on this journey. Because I don't want to people like, okay, so this is the strategies and now let's me get it implemented. That new leadership is not like that. It's actually, you need that type of support, this longer support. That's why my containers are so, like, that long-term containers is because this is only when you can truly, fully embody it and be it, and there is nothing that can shake you back to the old paradigm, to the old type of leadership. So with David, so he didn't know at all whatsoever what he wanted to do next. No clue. He just knew that it's not going to be the same what he've done. So now his reinvention led him to starting his own business that he started. He works 3 days a week. He secured incredible, beautiful clients that sign up for 3 years. And even that already makes him more money than he was earning in his corporate world. And more than anything is this closeness and him returning back to living. Yeah, so that was one of the stories. It's a beautiful story, and now he's actually inspiring others leaders. So it's like he actually uncovered his purpose in the same way in his business that he started.
Beautiful. And also, I think what listeners can take away is this beautiful question, thought-provoking question. Looking back, what you don't want to regret, because this is also can help many leaders to really question that, because there is never a right moment. The right moment was yesterday to plant the tree, or it is today, as we say. So they will never feel like it's right for any change. I have some of the clients that are in a similar stage of not ready yet, and then it leads them to more dramas and difficulties before they come, which could have been avoided. But the story I want to share, I have also a lot of beautiful different type of stories, but one, and I will use a fake name because for confidentiality reason of Mark, let's say Mark, who has come to me and who was ready. So that was a different story, but he C-level leader, he started a new big responsibility, and his mission, impact-driven mission to drive a change in his organization. That's what he was hired for. Very seasoned leader who already went through, coaching and different modalities of support before, became to be because he faced resistance with leading that change. People were, of course, saying no, and he was questioning who to even fire. And he started to doubt himself if he can make it, doubt himself if that's not too big for him, if he can succeed. And of course, that affected not only his health, his confidence, his self-esteem, how he showed up and how he communicated and how he was forcing, right, the results, but also his relationships at home, right? And having less time and being more tense and agitated, and that doesn't serve holistically. So as we know, it always impacts on all areas of life. So it is beautiful to see how much he transformed. He wanted to be a much more relaxed and inspiring leader. That was his first intention, and really bring people to this next level of way of working, collaboration and results and performance. That was his dream. And honestly speaking, it was amazing how in first 2 months he moved some resistors to supporters of that change, and people that he thought he would need to fire within 8 weeks of working together, he realized, wait a minute. And he shifted completely communication. He became more empathic and compassionate. He could see beyond what he could see before, right? Of course, he trusted himself more, and he was more compassionate to himself. So that shifts happened. And fast forward, very quickly, he gained not only the, influence or reputation in the organization as a newcomer of part of a leadership team, of course, and very recognized, most likely on the next level already, to embrace the next role in his organization, and really bringing the dynamic and culture and his organization to a next level, which would not have been possible. And I think what you mentioned is similar what I see in my clients, and himself included, is this aliveness, this joy, right? This joy of doing this ease, and that is something that is priceless, right? So many are miserable and sad, and so many are pushing because they have to. And that is, I think, what is possible for everybody who enter into that paradigm. And that's what you and me, I think, are so much passionate about, because we both walk this path and see that in our own businesses and lives, and of course in the lives of others that we guide. And I think that we transpire that passion for it. And I hope that listeners also listening to here are sensing that energy. And maybe that's the point of invitation, right? Invitation that for listeners here listening to our conversation, that if there is a nudge, if there is something like, that might be interesting to explore, and I want to know more, and without going any further, just reach out to Irina, reach out to myself. The links are in description, so it's very easy. We are open and easygoing people to talk to, and we'll be able to help you to step into that next level and make possible what maybe was not possible for you yet in your leadership, business, and life. Any final message for you, Irina, before we say goodbye?
Yeah, just I guess I think that if you are here listening to that podcast, it's not a coincidence. So I will just open you up. If you are listening that far until that moment when we are sharing right now what we are sharing, it means that you're ready. You're ready. Even if you are resisting, as we were discussing, even if you doubt all of this, but the fact that you listen for an hour podcast about this new way of leadership shows me at least that you're ready, that you're open, and just a matter of taking the first step. It's like it's the least you can do for yourself. It's like and I always say it's like it's your time now. Because imagine what kind of father or husband or mother or wife or daughter or son you would be once you start working on this journey. And that's the best role model you can be for your family, for your friends, for your kids, for everyone. Embrace this journey, you know where to find us, and let's get started. Just give us a hand and we'll meet us at the starting line.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Irina, for that message. I think I'm leaving listeners today with that. Looking forward, of course, to your comments and your insights that maybe has been unlocked in this conversation, and to these beautiful conversations that this episode also will transpire to. And thank you very much, Irina, for being here, for co-creating this conversation, for sharing your passion and wisdom. And for all listeners, see you next time. And remember, embrace this journey. The time is now and you are ready.